Hello, and welcome to Nexus Story Network.
Dr. Lyra Voss was not someone who frightened easily. She'd spent years inside sealed cryolabs studying quantum memory decay, mapping superposition drift, and writing papers that most of humanity would never be cleared to read. She'd testified before generals who believed physics bowed to funding, and she'd survived the political fallout after the Silence Protocol locked down half of Earth's off-world research facilities. But nothing, had prepared her for what she saw drifting beyond Neptune's orbit. A ship. No, not a ship, something wearing the shape of one. Magnification to max, Lyra whispered, leaning over the holodisplay as the object rotated slowly against black space. The outpost's main screen sharpened, revealing edges that did not remain edges, surfaces that bent inward, then outward, then appeared to fold into places geometry wasn't meant to go. The vessel shimmered in frequencies her equipment struggled to interpret. Portions glowed in the same impossible spectrum she had seen once before. The threshold engine. Her pulse skipped. This shouldn't be here. Commander Ashan Ward, the military liaison assigned to ensure she didn't pry too deeply into the Silence Protocol, stepped closer. "It's alien," he said quietly. "It's more than alien," Lyra murmured. "It's wrong." As if someone tried to build a human ship from memories of one. Ward frowned. "Explain." She pointed. "Hull seems that mimic fusion engine architecture, but the curvature isn't Euclidean. The profile matches a human destroyer, but only if you look at it once. Look again." Ward did, and his breath caught. The silhouette had changed. A new line. A new dorsal fin. Subtle, but different. As if the ship adjusted itself based on being observed. "Is this a remnant from the 5-fleet demonstration?" Ward asked. "One of theirs?" "No," Lyra said. "The aliens we encountered then never used tech like this. And even if they had, this is not a battleship or a cruiser. It looks like an imitation. Or a translation." The ship flickered. A ripple passed through it like a memory struggling to hold shape. Lyra felt her stomach tighten. "This might not be a ship at all," she whispered. Ward folded his arms. "Then what is it?" "A message." Ward stiffened. "If it's a message, why orbit Neptune?" Lyra hesitated. "It's not orbiting," she said. "It's waiting." The lights dimmed. The outpost sensors hummed louder. A soft tone echoed through the room, the AI's alert. "Object is emitting low-frequency patterns," the system announced. "Patterns?" Ward said. "What kind of patterns?" Lyra listened. "Not radio. Not pulses. Something stranger. Memory signatures," she said. Ward blinked. "I'm sorry, what?" "It's communicating through mnemonic sequence bleed." She felt the hairs on her arms rise. "It's trying to talk to us through recall structures." "You're telling me that thing is trying to speak, inside our memories?" "Yes," she whispered. "And we don't know who it was meant for." The room fell silent. Ward finally exhaled. "We need to send this to command." "No," Lyra said immediately. Ward turned. "That wasn't a suggestion. This is a level 7 anomaly." "I know," she said, her voice steady. "But if the Silence Protocol activates again, every facility from here to Luna will go dark. And if this object is connected to the threshold engine..." Ward froze. The name still carried weight. "Enough to end careers. Or start wars." "You think it's related?" he asked. Lyra nodded. "And I think whoever, or whatever, sent it didn't mean for human governments to lock it away." Ward looked at the screen again, jaw tight. "It shifted again," he muttered. "It looks almost, recognizably human now." "Yes," Lyra whispered. "It's learning us. It's adapting." A soft vibration shook the floor. The outpost lights flickered. And then, the ship stopped changing. It stabilized. A perfect, impossible rendering of a human vessel, one that had never been built by any human nation. A voice, faint, like a childhood dream half remembered, brushed against Lyra's mind. "We learned your shape from the ones who failed before you." She jerked back, breath sharp. Ward grabbed her shoulder. "Lyra. What happened?" She swallowed. "It spoke. To you." "No," she said slowly. "Not to me." She lifted her eyes to the impossible ship. "It spoke to whoever I used to be." And Ward went pale. Because that implied only one thing. Lyra Voss had trained her mind to trust data above emotion, but as she sat alone in the med bay with the biometric scanner humming above her skull, she felt something she hadn't felt since childhood. A hole. Not an amnesia gap. Not trauma-induced suppression. Something older. Something placed. The AI technician's voice broke the silence. "Dr. Voss, your neural pattern shows irregularities." Of course it did. "Define irregularities," she said, gripping the edge of the medbed. The AI hesitated, never a good sign. "Your long-term memory lattice contains interruptions. 15 distinct regions where data has been overwritten or erased, cleanly, intentionally, and with exceptional precision." Lyra closed her eyes. 15. A number she recognized but did not remember why. "Is this recent?" she asked. "No," the AI replied. "These deletions date back more than 20 years." She opened her eyes. 20 years. That would make her 8 years old. Ward entered the medbay then, boots heavy against the floor, carrying a datapad glowing with encrypted relays from Earth. "What happened out there, Lyra?" Ward demanded. "You collapsed." She breathed slowly. The object communicated. Not with language. With memory reconstruction. Ward stiffened. "And you think this is connected to your missing years?" "I don't think," she said. "I know." Ward exhaled sharply. "Command wants an immediate report." "No," she said, too quickly. Ward raised an eyebrow. "No. If we file this formally, the silence protocol activates. And once it does, nothing gets out. Not even us." Ward hesitated, but she saw the agreement flicker in his eyes. He'd lived through the protocol too. The orbital blackout. The isolation. The sudden deaths of 2 research directors. The way every satellite above low Earth orbit silently reoriented as if listening for something. No one wanted to go back to that. "Lyra," Ward said, softer now. "If something is buried in your memory, you need to tell me. Because whatever that thing is out there," he pointed toward Neptune. "It spoke to you first." "I don't know why," she whispered. "But I can show you something." She pulled up her personal archive. A heavily encrypted folder labeled LV 0.0, identical to files she'd been carrying since her first year studying quantum cognition. Inside, 15 short videos. No timestamps. No metadata. Just the faint flicker of a child's voice whispering into darkness. Lyra tapped the first video. Static. A small figure, a child, half-lit. Her own face, maybe 8 years old, speaking into a recorder. "If you are watching this, they've erased it again. They always erase it. They don't want me to remember the ship." Ward leaned closer. "The ship." Lyra's throat tightened. She tapped the second video. "The same child, this time crying. They told me it was for my own good. That humans weren't meant to see them. But I did. I already did." Ward looked at her sharply. "Lyra, you encountered non-human technology as a child." She didn't blink. I don't remember. She tapped the third video. This time the screen showed sketches, dozens of them, drawn by a child's hand. A ship. Not human. Not alien. Something in between. Something that looked eerily like the object orbiting Neptune now. Ward's voice broke. This isn't possible. But Lyra was no longer listening. The shape on the screen, its broken edges, its fluid geometry, lit something deep inside her mind. Not recognition. Not memory. A warning. Ward, she whispered, I think that object out there is trying to restore whatever they took from me. Ward stepped back, shaken. Who's they? She didn't answer. Because the medbay lights flickered, once, then again. A soft tone echoed from the outpost's intercom. Attention, foreign signal detected. Origin, the object. Lyra and Ward rushed to the command deck. The ship, if it was a ship, now glowed in a soft, pulsing rhythm. Almost like a heartbeat. Signal analysis. Ward barked. Indeterminate, the AI responded. But it matches the neural signature of Dr. Voss's missing memory regions. Ward froze. It's transmitting into your brain. Lyra felt the pressure behind her eyes. A heaviness. A familiarity. No, she whispered. It's transmitting the parts they erased. The ship pulsed again. A vision, brief, violent, slammed into her mind. Cold metal corridors. A dome of shifting light. Voices she didn't understand. Hands pulling her away. A scream she didn't recognize as her own. Then darkness. Lyra staggered. Ward caught her. What did you see? He asked. She shook her head. Enough to know this isn't first contact. Ward went pale. You're telling me humanity met them before? No, she said, eyes fixed on the ship. I met them before. Ward's voice dropped to a whisper. And your memories were erased. Lyra nodded slowly, trembling. Which means, Ward. She stared at the ship as it stabilized into a perfect mimicry of a human vessel. This isn't their first time delivering a message. Her pulse quickened. It's their first time delivering one back. The debrief chamber aboard the Neptune outpost was designed for one purpose. Contain the truth, even from the people speaking it. No external transmitters. No internal memory modules. Every word spoken dissolved into air, never stored, never archived. A place where only human memory survived. And human memory was the most fragile vault of all. Lyra Voss sat alone at the center of the chamber's glass-walled hexagon, listening to the faint hum of the acoustic dampeners. Her hands trembled, not from fear, but from the strange sense of rightness that the object in orbit had awakened inside her. Whatever it was, it knew her. Whatever had been taken, it was giving back. She wasn't sure yet if that was a gift or a threat. The door slid open. Commander Ilya Wren stepped inside, dark uniform crisp, silver hair braided and coiled tight. Every movement was controlled, precise, the posture of a man who believed discipline could bend the universe. Dr. Voss, he said, offering a shallow nod. This debrief is off record by presidential directive. You will speak freely. She regarded him carefully. Off record usually means never happened, Commander. Wren's jaw tightened. After what you claimed earlier, I think never happened might be optimistic. He sat across from her, datapad off, hands empty, no tools of interrogation, no digital trace. This was a conversation meant to vanish. Start at the beginning, Wren said. What did you experience when the object pulsed? Lyra exhaled, steadying her breath. It triggered something in me. A memory, or a reconstructed version of one. A corridor. Non-human architecture. Movement. Light that didn't behave like light. Ren's expression didn't change, but his foot shifted slightly. Interest. You've never reported prior anomalous memory events, he said. I didn't know they existed, Lyra replied. Until now. Ren folded his hands. Your medical scan shows memory excision dating to your childhood. Who would have the authority, or the capability, to erase memories of non-human origin? She said nothing. He leaned forward. You think it was us, don't you? Lyra looked away. Ren exhaled. Dr. Voss, listen to me very carefully. Humanity has protocols for contact we cannot control. But we've never erased a child's mind. She turned back to him. Then who did? For the first time, Ren didn't answer immediately. Instead, he pressed his thumb against a hidden panel beneath the table. The glass walls darkened to opaque black. Dr. Voss, he said, voice thinning, what I'm about to tell you isn't known to most world leaders. Her pulse quickened. There have been 3 confirmed pre-modern contact events, he said. None officially acknowledged. None proven to be authentic. All suppressed for global stability. Lyra tensed. Why are you telling me this now? Because, Ren said quietly, all 3 involve children. The room changed temperature. Lyra's breath hitched. You think I was one of them? I don't think, Ren said. I know. I've seen your classified file. She stared at him, heart pounding. My file is sealed. Triple encrypted. It isn't sealed to the people who wrote it. Lyra felt something deep inside her tightening, a coil unwinding. Show me, she whispered. Ren hesitated, but only for a moment. Then he slid a small palm-sized cartridge onto the table. Unmarked. Cold metal. No digital signature. This is analog, she murmured. Undetectable. Exactly. It's why it still exists. Lyra picked it up slowly. Her fingers brushed the cold surface, and a faint itch of déjà vu crawled up her spine. Ren activated the projector. A grainy video filled the wall. Static. Snow. A small room. A hospital bed. A little girl, 8 years old, crying into her hands. Lyra froze. It was her. But not one of her self-recorded files. This was different. This was from outside the room. Someone had been watching her. Recording her. The child Lyra lifted her head. Her eyes were swollen, terrified. It wasn't human, she sobbed. The ship wasn't human. Lyra's heartbeat hammered against her ribs. Ren paused the recording. This footage is dated 22 years ago. It predates any known human encounter with non-terrestrial artifacts. She swallowed hard. Why didn't I know this? Because the silence protocol existed long before you were born, Ren said. And you were placed under it. Lyra's vision swam. I was, classified. You were protected, he corrected. No. No, she hadn't been protected. She had been contained. She pressed her palms against the table. And the object outside Neptune? Does it confirm the earlier contact? Ren shook his head. It contradicts it. Lyra stared. How? Because the ship you interacted with as a child, Ren said, didn't match the one in orbit now. Cold prickled her spine. Then what does that mean? Ren met her eyes, voice low. It means you weren't contacted by them. Silence filled the chamber. Then who? She whispered. Ren answered without blinking. Something else. Dr. Lena Vass did not dream often, but when she did, the dreams never belonged to her. They came from angles no human mind should see, from memory architectures that felt older than language, older than pain, older than time itself. Tonight's dream was the same one that had resurfaced since her encounter with the orbital entity, a room from her childhood, a place she had forgotten, or perhaps a place someone had hidden from her. She saw herself at 8 years old, sitting cross-legged in a narrow room lined with chalkboards. Silent. Observing. Listening to something that wasn't there. Except, she wasn't alone. A shape stood behind her, tall, blurred, like a figure seen through heat distortion. Every few seconds it flickered, as though it existed only on alternating frames of reality. Her younger self spoke to it. Whispered something. The shape answered. But Lena could never hear the reply. She woke with a gasp to the sterile hum of the soul-fed medical bay aboard the Astrea station, floating 280 kilometers above Earth. Her palm was pressed against her chest, as if trying to hold her heartbeat inside. Dr. Reese Calder stood at the doorway, arms folded, face unreadable. "You're awake sooner than I expected." Lena blinked, trying to push the dream's residue away. "How long?" "4 hours. Half the council assumed you wouldn't wake at all." He hesitated. "Your vitals were unusual." "Define unusual." Calder stepped inside and closed the door. "Your neural telemetry temporarily resembled the pattern associated with threshold signatures." Lena felt cold spread across her spine. "That's impossible." "Apparently not," Calder answered, expression tight. "The threshold engine hasn't been active for 13 years. Yet you, somehow, were echoing it." She looked away, processing. Threshold echoes meant interaction with something that bent information, memory, and entropy. Something like the entity they were attempting to communicate with. Or something that had been inside her for far longer. "What aren't you telling me, Lena?" Calder asked quietly. She swallowed. "I think, pieces of my childhood are missing." He didn't react with surprise. Instead, he sat beside her, as if he'd been expecting this. "When you were 8, he said slowly, your parents worked with the precursor agency to Orion, back when it was called the Cognitive Security Directorate." Lena frowned. "I know that. They were linguists." "No," Calder said softly. "They were proto-contact specialists. The Directorate believed signals were coming from beyond conventional spacetime. Not intelligent messages, more like gravitational linguistics. Early echoes of things we later identified as threshold phenomena." Lena's pulse spiked. "And my parents were working on it? Why didn't anyone tell me?" "They tried." He studied her reaction. "But your memories were sealed." She stared at him, the full weight of the sentence sinking into her chest. "Sealed by who?" Calder didn't answer immediately. Section 5 of the Directorate. The unit responsible for silence protocol experiments. Lena felt the world constrict. Silence protocol, the same doctrine that later justified shutting down the threshold engine, suppressing any knowledge that could destabilize society. A doctrine she had spent her entire adult life opposing. "My childhood was an experiment," she asked, voice thinner than she intended. "Is that what you're suggesting?" Calder exhaled through his nose, as if bracing for impact. "Your parents believed children could interpret nonlinear communication differently than adults. That maybe cognition at that age was more flexible, less anchored in linear perception." "That's insane." "Is it?" Calder countered. "After everything you saw on that orbital object? After your mind synced with something we still can't define?" Lena closed her eyes. He wasn't wrong. Her childhood dream felt too structured to be imagination. Too familiar to be invented. And the shape she remembered, its flickering, its manner of presence, it resembled the pattern she sensed aboard the orbital anomaly. "Something talked to me," Lena whispered. "Back then. Whatever it wasn't human." Calder's expression hardened. "We don't know that." She snapped her gaze to him. "You're afraid that I was targeted. You were 8 years old. If something was communicating with you, something outside our universe, we need to know why." Lena pushed herself upright. "I'm requesting access to my sealed childhood files." He didn't move. Those files are buried under 5 layers of silence protocol. Even I can't grant access. Then get someone who can. Lena. She held his gaze. I am not going into another debrief blind. If I was exposed to threshold communication as a child, that changes everything. My perception. My abilities. My vulnerabilities. After a long moment, Calder nodded. There's one person who might have clearance. Who? Your mother. Lena's breath caught. Calder stood. She's alive. And she's been off-grid for 15 years by government order. They kept her hidden even from you. The room felt suddenly smaller. Why now? She whispered. Why tell me this now? Because Section 5 sent an encrypted directive this morning, Calder said. Your mother has resurfaced. Lena felt her heartbeat in her throat. And she's asking for you. The transport shuttle assigned to Lena felt less like a vehicle and more like a verdict. Matte black, no identifiers, piloted by an officer who introduced himself only as Cade. No rank. No insignia. No emotion. They departed Astria Station under a veil of classified authorization, descending through thin atmospheric burn until Earth's cloud tops rose to meet them like a soft curtain over a world full of buried truths. Lena watched the blue sphere swell beneath them, and with every passing kilometer, her heartbeat grew louder. Her mother was alive. Not missing, not dead, not silenced, hidden. For 15 years. Calder sat beside her, hands clasped, gaze fixed straight ahead. He hadn't spoken more than 3 sentences since boarding. That wasn't unusual for Calder. He treated silence like a tactical shield, but Lena sensed something else in him now. Guilt? Concern? Fear? The kind of fear reserved for things humans weren't built to understand. The shuttle broke through lower atmosphere, banking west toward an expanse of snowy mountains Lena didn't recognize. Remote. Unpopulated. The kind of place the Directorate had always preferred. The peaks below glistened like shattered teeth. Cade finally spoke. Dr. Vass, you'll have 20 minutes with her. Protocol restrictions apply. No unauthorized devices. No independent data capture. No questions regarding pre-silence projects. Lena stiffened. I'm not agreeing to any restrictions regarding my own past. Cade didn't turn. It isn't negotiable. Calder raised a hand slightly, not now. Lena bit back her anger, but it simmered under her ribs like a warhead warming. They landed beside a structure carved into the mountainside, more bunker than building, dark concrete framed by storms of drifting snow. No windows. No signage. Air that tasted like metallic winter. Inside, the corridors felt impossibly quiet. Every footstep echoed like an intruder. Cade guided them down a hallway lined with biometric locks. One door stood at the end, lights dimmed to amber, an isolation room. Controlled environment. Psychological containment. Something inside Lena twisted. As the door slid open, warm air washed over her. And there she was. A woman in her late 60s, hair silver but thick, posture straight despite years in isolation. Eyes sharp enough to slice through undefended truths. Dr. Mara Vass. Her mother. The moment their eyes met, Lena felt something uncoil, a pressure she never knew she carried. Her mother didn't look shocked. She didn't even gasp. Instead, she gave a slow, almost resigned nod. As I feared, Mara murmured. Her voice was calm. Too calm. You've been activated. Lena froze. Activated? What does that mean? But her mother only looked at Cade and Calder. Leave us. Cade opened his mouth, probably to quote protocol, but Mara Vass's gaze cut him off like a blade. Your presence will cause contamination. You know this. Calder hesitated, then nodded. Cade followed, though reluctantly. The door sealed behind them. For several seconds, Lena couldn't speak. She didn't want her first words in 15 years to sound like accusation, but the words came anyway. You lied to me. Mara walked toward her, not embracing, not touching, simply studying her as if searching for fractures in the structure of her mind. We hid things from you to protect you. No, Lena stepped back. To use me. A long, brittle silence. Mara finally exhaled. Lena, when you were 8, you weren't the subject of an experiment. You were the only one who succeeded. Lena's breath hitched. Succeeded at what? Mara gestured toward the chair. Please sit. You need to understand this clearly. Lena remained standing. Mara continued anyway. You began perceiving entropic patterns before any adult in the directorate. We didn't teach you. You absorbed them. As if you were remembering something instead of learning it. That's impossible. Is it? Mara's expression softened with something that might have been sorrow. The entity you encountered in orbit, the one you think was your first contact, it wasn't. Lena felt her pulse spike hard. You interacted with something when you were 8, Mara said softly. Something we later associated with threshold signatures. Something we didn't understand. Something that should not have been able to communicate with a human child. Lena swallowed hard. The flickering shape, in the chalkboard room. That was real. Mara nodded once. Yes. Lena steadied herself on the metal table. What did it say to me? Mara hesitated. Then. It didn't speak, Lena. A beat. It rearranged you. Lena's stomach dropped. Her mother's voice trembled for the first time. Whatever it did, it changed your cognition. Your memory pathways. The way you perceive time, probability, entropy. She swallowed. You are the only living human who has ever survived direct contact with a pre-threshold intelligence. Lena felt the room tilt. Air thinned. Reality softened. Mara stepped closer, her expression breaking. That's why the orbital entity recognized you. Her voice dropped. That's why it called you by name. Lena stared at her. Her mother whispered. Because it wasn't your first conversation. There were days in human history when decisions were made loudly, elections, declarations, televised speeches meant to sound like certainty. And then there were days like this one. Days when the world changed because a handful of people in a room agreed not to speak. Lena sat across from her mother in the isolation chamber, the walls humming with the low vibrational thrum of dampening fields. She still felt as if her bones were too light, too hollow, as if something inside her had been rearranged long before she was old enough to understand what was being taken. Mara, she said, using her mother's name felt safer than saying Mom, like a buffer between the past and the earthquake unraveling inside her. You never told me what that entity wanted. Mara exhaled. It isn't about want. Entities that predate entropy don't desire. They obey underlying cosmic conditions. They respond to imbalance. Imbalance? Lena echoed. Mara nodded. You. Before Lena could speak, the door slid open with a rush of sterilized air. Two figures entered, Director Ree, stiff and composed, and Admiral Solari of the Global Security Council, built like a glacier that had learned to walk. Their expressions were carved from stone. Dr. Vass, Solari said. We need your daughter in the briefing chamber immediately. My daughter is not GSC property, Mara snapped. She's not a civilian anymore, Director Ree replied. She's an active anomaly. Lena felt the words hit her like static. Active anomaly. She stood slowly, every instinct warning her that whatever came next wasn't merely dangerous, it was irreversible. They marched her through a maze of reinforced corridors until they reached a circular chamber filled with silent people and louder fears. Screens glowed with blue-tinted satellite images. At the room's center floated a hologram of the orbital object. The same impossible structure Lena had glimpsed above Earth's terminator line, a geometric absence containing far more than it revealed. But now it was different. It was awake. Lines of soft luminescent symbols pulsed across its surface, patterns Lena felt before she understood. Shapes like memories. Sequences that touched something behind her consciousness like a finger brushing glass. The moment she entered, every person in the chamber turned. Ree cleared her throat. Lena Vass. The object responded to your neural signature. It answered her neural signature, corrected one of the researchers, a thin man with shaking hands. It ignored every probe, every signal, and then at 0300 hours, it transmitted this. He played the recording. There was no sound. Just a low, resonant pressure, like a heartbeat heard underwater. A rhythm that didn't match anything human. But Lena recognized it instantly. The chalkboard room. The flickering shape. The moment she realized that shadows could learn. She swallowed. What does it want from me? Ree exchanged a glance with Solari. It issued a directive. Lena stiffened. Translated? Not exactly. Ree hesitated. It wasn't linguistic. It was pattern-based. A command encoded in a shift of probabilities. The thin researcher added, it said, silence must be maintained. She remembers. Lena felt ice crawl along her spine. Solari leaned forward. We need to know, what is it warning us about? Lena stared at the hologram, at the shifting symbols that moved like thoughts drifting between fragments of time. I don't know, she whispered. I don't remember everything. Mara's voice drifted through her thoughts, it rearranged you. Ree began pacing. Earth is in a fragile geopolitical state. If we acknowledge contact, nations collapse into panic. If we conceal it and something goes wrong, humanity loses its only bargaining position. Solari spoke with a weight that made the air thicker. This is why we initiated the silence protocol. Lena froze. The global one. The same, Solari confirmed. No public disclosure. No open scientific reporting. No transmissions leaving Earth's orbit. We are imposing a total information blackout. To protect humanity, Ree added. Lena stepped back. To protect your control. Silence cut the room. Solari's jaw tightened. Dr. Vass, this isn't politics. Humanity cannot negotiate with an intelligence that predates energy decay. We don't understand its language, its physics, its intent. One wrong broadcast could be interpreted as aggression, or worse, recognition. What does that mean? Lena asked. Ree swallowed. The researchers believe the object doesn't want humanity to know it exists. The idea hit her like gravity suddenly doubling. It hit itself for a reason, Solari said. And now it fears you might reveal it. Lena shook her head. Why? Why me? Everyone turned to her. Because she knew the truth. Because she had been changed. Because something ancient had touched a human mind, and minds do not stay quiet. The thin researcher spoke quietly. We need your help to keep the world silent. Lena looked at the hologram. At the patterns calling to her. At the orbit watching back. No, she whispered. You don't want silence. She lifted her eyes to them. You want control over the only person it talks to. No one denied it. And in that moment, Lena realized something. Earth hadn't chosen silence for safety. It had chosen silence for power. And she was the fault line running through it. The threshold engine had always been a rumor inside intelligence circles, an experimental relic from the pre-protocol years, when Earth still dared to dream about breaking the speed of light instead of hiding from what might be listening. Rumor said it was built using data acquired from a crash site in the Arctic. Rumor said no one fully understood how it functioned. Rumor said it was shut down long before Lena was even born. Rumor, Lena realized, was wrong. The engine was very real. And it was waking up. The elevator descended so deep that the air pressure changed, leaving Lena's ears ringing. Director Ree stood beside her, arms folded so tightly it looked painful. 2 armed guards flanked the door. Lena broke the silence first. Why am I being brought here? Ree didn't turn to her. Because the orbital object reacted to a frequency we've only ever observed in one Earth-made device. The threshold engine. Ree's jaw tightened. We believe the object recognized it. Or perhaps, remembered it. The elevator stopped with a hydraulic groan, revealing a cavernous chamber carved into basalt. The temperature dropped instantly. Rows of lights glowed faintly above a single monolithic structure suspended by magnetic pylons. The threshold engine. It looked less like a machine and more like an artifact, a crescent-shaped frame of dark alloy, its surface swirling with faint geometric patterns like shifting oil. It was utterly silent, yet Lena felt a low vibration under her skin, a resonance she couldn't put into words. Her breath hitched. It was the same resonance she had felt in childhood. The same frequency the entity used. A tone that rearranged memories. Dr. Sato, the project's chief physicist, greeted them with a tense nod. His voice was steady, but his eyes looked as if he hadn't slept in days. We didn't activate it, he said before Ree even asked. It activated itself. Lena stared. That's impossible. Dr. Sato's gaze darted to her. So is an orbital object older than our species sending you a personalized warning? Touché. He motioned them forward. When the silence protocol was enacted, the engine was sealed under quantum locks. It was never meant to power up again. He tapped his tablet. But at 0400 hours, it began absorbing ambient energy. Not electrical. Not gravitational. Something we don't have a name for. Lena approached the machine slowly. It hummed with an almost biological pulse. What does it do? She asked. Ree answered softly, we never found out. That wasn't entirely true. Humanity had theories. Hypotheses. Fragmented data from the original design team, most of whom died under circumstances labeled classified biological hazard. Sato brought up a hologram showing a visual simulation, a ripple in spacetime, a fold forming like a wound in reality. Threshold physics, he said. A method of warping locality. Not travel, translation. Moving from one state of existence to another without crossing the space between. Lena frowned. Quantum tunneling. Sato shook his head. Worse. This thing doesn't tunnel. It negotiates. The words chilled her. Negotiates with what? He swallowed. Whatever exists between the thresholds. The chamber seemed to contract around them. Ree spoke firmly, the engine is connected to what altered you, Lena. That's why we brought you. We need to know whether the activation is a response to the orbital object, or to you. Lena stepped closer. The engine's surface rippled subtly, as though reacting to her presence. A memory flickered, her younger self in the chalkboard room, watching symbols shift in the dark. A sense of being watched. A sense of being chosen. She inhaled sharply. It's not responding to me. Sato blinked. Then to what? Lena pointed to a specific area of the engine's frame, where the patterns aligned into a spiral she had seen before. It's responding to itself. Ree frowned. Explain. This machine wasn't designed by humans alone, Lena whispered. Parts of its geometry, the logic of it, matched the signature of the entity. It didn't just rearrange my memory. She turned to them slowly. It left a blueprint inside humanity long before I was born. Dr. Sato's face went pale. You're saying, we reverse-engineered something alien without realizing it? No, Lena's voice was almost a breath. You completed something alien without understanding it. At that moment, the engine pulsed, once, softly, like a heartbeat syncing with her own. Systems around the chamber flickered. Ree grabbed the railing. The guards raised weapons instinctively. What did you do? Ree hissed. Nothing, Lena said. And she meant it. The engine was waking up because the universe around it had changed. It sensed the object. It sensed the entity. It sensed Lena. A low, resonant tone filled the chamber, an impossibly familiar one. The same tone the orbital object used when it issued its warning. Silence must be maintained. She remembers. The lights dimmed. The engine brightened. And somewhere above them, the orbital object shifted its orbit by a fraction of a degree, toward Earth. Lena whispered the words she didn't want to believe. It's coming here. For the first time since the investigation began, the observation chamber beneath West Annex 4 felt alive. Not bustling, no one dared speak above a whisper, but alive in the way a forest holds its breath before a storm. Screens hummed quietly. Oxygen recyclers thrummed like distant thunder. And in the center of the room, suspended inside a cold ring of containment plates, hung the object recovered from the threshold event 4 years ago. The fracture core. It had never behaved like this before. Dr. Mara Langley stood in front of it, her breath unsteady, her fingertips trembling against the railing. A faint vibration flowed through the metal like a warning pulse, steady, deliberate, almost impatient. The object was a perfect sphere of obsidian glass material, no larger than a human skull, etched with geometric grooves that glowed faintly like the afterburn of dying stars. For years it had been silent. Dead. A relic. Now it wasn't. Doc, Agent Halden whispered from her right. His jaw was clenched so hard she could see the muscles twitch. This started exactly 60 seconds after you entered the room. That's not a coincidence. She didn't respond. She couldn't. Mara's mind was already fading into a murmur, the edge of a memory that did not belong to her, a voice that wasn't a voice but a sensation, like someone rearranging her neurons gently. A hum. A beckoning. A phrase. Not yet. She blinked, heart stuttering. Did you hear that? Halden frowned. Hear what? Of course he didn't. Only she did. Only she ever had. Mara reached out slowly toward the containment field, stopping just before her fingertips met the shimmering barrier. She could feel the static pushing back, repelling her touch, but beneath it, she felt something else. Like pressure from the other side. The fracture core pulsed again. Not yet. The words weren't a sound, they were an alignment inside her brain. A recognition pattern. Familiar. Terrifyingly familiar. Behind her, the door hissed open. Dr. Corin Hale stepped inside, the supervisor of threshold phenomena and the man who had fought hardest to keep the silence protocol operational. He paused when he saw the sphere glowing. His face paled. No, he whispered. Not now. God, not now. Dr. Hale, Mara said slowly, stepping away from the core. You knew this could happen. I knew, he swallowed hard. I knew it shouldn't. Not unless something crossed the threshold again. Halden stiffened. Crossed? As in, entered our universe? Dr. Hale ignored him, moving straight toward the core. His normally calm hands trembled. It's resonating, he murmured. The same amplitude we saw 4 years ago during the first breach. You mean the day it arrived, Mara said. No, Hale turned sharply toward her. The day something else tried to follow it. Silence fell so heavily Mara felt it in her spine. Halden sucked in a slow breath. Are you saying this thing is, what? A door? Not a door. Hale's eyes locked with Mara's. They were wide with a fear she had never seen in a senior scientist before. A receiver. A pulse surged through the chamber, sharp, electric, like a camera flash without light. The screens around them flickered. The metal floor vibrated. Mara's vision blurred for a heartbeat, and when it refocused, she wasn't standing in the chamber anymore. She stood on a plain of black sand beneath a sky that rippled like water. No sun. No stars. Only swirling white fractures drifting overhead like scars carved into the firmament. A figure stood ahead of her. Tall. Indistinct. Humanoid, but not human. Its outline flickered as though it existed between frames of reality. Its face, or where a face should have been, glowed faintly with shifting symbols. Her brain tried to interpret them. To translate them. To remember them. But they were not memories a human mind should hold. The figure raised a hand. A gesture. A warning. Not yet. Mara gasped, stumbling back into her own body as the vision dissolved. The chamber snapped into clarity. Halden was holding her shoulders, shouting her name. Hale was slamming commands into the console, trying to stabilize the containment field as the sphere's pulses grew erratic. What did you see? Halden demanded. Mara tried to speak, but her throat was tight, as though the air didn't want to leave her lungs. Hale turned toward her, desperation breaking through his usual calm. Dr. Langley, what came through the threshold? Her voice finally formed the answer, trembling. Not a thing, she whispered. A warning. Hale froze. From who? Mara looked back at the sphere, now pulsing faster, more urgent. And she knew the truth because the entity had placed it inside her, like a seed waiting to bloom. It wasn't meant for humanity, she said softly. Then who was it meant for? Halden asked. Mara turned toward him, her eyes dark with dread. For whatever is trying to enter our universe next. And then the fracture core emitted a final pulse. A countdown. The room went dark. The alarms began. And the threshold began to open. Dr. Mara Ellion had walked this research wing of the Helios array hundreds of times, or so she'd been told. The security staff recognized her. The lab doors accepted her retinal signature. The biometric scanners confirmed her gait pattern with a comforting chime each time she passed through. But today, as she stepped into corridor Theta 9, the building itself seemed to pause. A faint hum rose in the walls. Lights dimmed, then brightened again. Her wristband vibrated with a message that vanished before she could read it. For a moment, the corridor felt like it was, remembering her. Or trying to. The room she wasn't meant to enter. Theta 9 ended at a door she had never seen unlocked. The brushed steel plate beside it displayed a simple name, Archive 7B, prohibited. Command rules were explicit. Only personnel with Omega clearance may enter this archive. Mara had Delta clearance. Delta was respectable, enough to access all alien contact logs, enough to work on the threshold renditions, enough to participate in debriefs of species more advanced than humanity itself. But Omega clearance was different. Omega was reserved for the individuals Earth pretended did not exist. So when the lock clicked open on its own, she froze. I didn't request access, she whispered, though no one was around to hear her. The panel glowed green. The door slid aside. Air rushed out, cold as vacuum. Inside was a circular chamber, unlit except for a single beam of pale blue luminance shining onto the floor. Suspended in the beam, rotating slowly in midair, was something she recognized instinctively and hated instantly. A memory spool. Her memory spool. The recording she never made. The device rotated and chimed softly as she approached. Its surface displayed raw neuroprint data, dense, intricate, unmistakably human. The timestamp read. Age 7, prior classification, red. Red classification meant one thing. Memories so dangerous, they must be sealed from the subject forever. Her throat closed. No, she whispered, stepping back. No. I didn't go through this archive. I didn't authorize any of this. But the spool activated anyway. A projection blossomed in the air, grainy, flickering, like an old analog recording forced through alien tech. She saw a small room. Concrete. A table. 2 chairs. In one chair, a girl sat with her feet swinging nervously. Black hair. Wide eyes. Skin dusted with freckles. The girl was her. 7-year-old Mara looked toward the corner of the room at something the recording's angle didn't show. Is it going to hurt? The child asked. A voice, calm, adult, not human, answered from off-screen. No. You will simply forget. That is kindness. The child whispered, but if I forget, who will remember? The projection cut abruptly. Mara stumbled backward. Her hand hit the wall to steady herself. Sweat beaded down her spine. What was she seeing? Who was speaking to her younger self? What had she forgotten? And why did the alien voice sound disturbingly like the one she had heard on the derelict vessel only days before? The footsteps and the warning. Footsteps approached from the corridor outside. Heavy, determined. Human. Mara snapped out of her shock. If someone caught her here, she wouldn't just lose her clearance, she'd be detained, interrogated, possibly disappeared into one of the non-existent Omega sites. The memory spool flickered as if sensing the approaching presence. It projected a final line of text in the blue beam. You were not supposed to see this again. Run. The room's lights snapped off. The door slid open violently as a silhouette stepped inside. Mara. A familiar voice. Commander Rourke. Her direct superior. Her ally. Her handler. And the man she feared might be lying to her more than anyone else. He looked at the memory spool still floating, still glowing faintly. His jaw tightened. His hand drifted toward the weapon on his hip. You shouldn't be here, he said. Not angry. Not surprised. Just, resigned. Mara forced her voice to remain steady. You knew, she whispered. You knew I had memories locked at age 7. You knew aliens were involved. And you hid all of it. Rourke closed the door behind him. The lock slid into place with a sound like a verdict. It was for your protection, he said quietly. If you remembered what they did to you, the threshold event would have killed you instantly. Her breath caught. Threshold. You mean the energy on the derelict ship? The signal? Rourke shook his head. No. Not the signal. The answer to it. Silence stretched thick and cold. He looked at her with a grief she didn't understand, like someone forced to betray the only person they wanted to protect. Mara, he said, listen to me carefully. You weren't sent to investigate the 5 alien vessels. He stepped closer. His voice dropped to a whisper. You were sent because you're the only human who's ever survived speaking to the species those aliens fear. Her pulse slammed in her ears. What species? Rourke's expression hardened. The ones who modified your mind. The lights flickered violently. Something in the walls began to tremble, metal groaning as if reacting to her rising panic. Rourke grabbed her wrist. We have to leave. Now. If the system detects that your memories are unsealing, it will activate the failsafe. Mara swallowed. What failsafe? He didn't answer with words. Behind him, the archive chamber began to seal itself, walls shifting, metal folding, lights turning blood red. The last thing she saw before they ran was the memory spool, burning with a message meant only for her. They are coming back for you. Alarms pulsed red through the Helios array as Mara and Commander Rourke sprinted down the corridor, the walls vibrating with a deep, subsonic rumble. It wasn't mechanical. It was cognitive, as if the building itself was bracing for something entering its perception. What's happening? Mara gasped. The archive triggered the failsafe, Rourke said without looking back. It means one thing, your memories are opening. And if they finish unsealing before we reach the threshold chamber, the array will neutralize you. Neutralize? It'll erase your neural lattice. You'll live, but there won't be a you left. Her skin crawled. This place had been home for 5 years. She never imagined it was designed to kill her. They turned into the main transit bay where a mag platform waited. Rourke shoved her onto it. The platform shot forward, silent, frictionless, weightless. As they sped through passageways, the air shimmered, distorting like heat waves. Mara blinked hard. For a moment, the walls weren't metal, they were transparent. Beyond them hung a geometry of light, infinitely folding and unfolding, fractal symmetries that bent through dimensions she couldn't describe. "What is that?" she whispered. Rourke didn't answer. His knuckles were white on the railing. The distortion vanished. The array became metal again. Her memories, whatever had been sealed, were trying to come back. And the universe was reacting. The threshold chamber. The mag platform screeched to a halt against a blast door 2 stories tall. Rourke pressed his palm to the scanner. "Omega override," he said breathlessly. "Authorization. Rourke. Code, Asterian Protocol." The doors unlocked with a reluctant groan. Inside was a cathedral-like space, circular, towering, columnless. In the center hovered the threshold engine. It wasn't metal. It wasn't alien. It wasn't anything she recognized. It looked like a tear in reality, frozen mid-rip, as if someone had pulled at spacetime and suspended it between moments. Colors she had no names for bled from it. And as Mara approached, the engine pulsed, once, twice, like a heartbeat recognizing her. Rourke swallowed. "This is why we brought you here. You're the first human who can stand near it without losing sanity." "Why me?" Before he could speak, the engine answered for him. A lattice of light unfolded from the rift, curling toward her like petals opening. Her head rang with a resonance she felt in her bones. Then. A voice. Not in her ears. Not in her mind. In her memories. "Child of the return, why do you come again?" She staggered. I don't know you." The voice replied with something like sadness. "Yet we shaped you. Made you able to hear us. You were the first to look into our form and not break." Rourke stepped protectively in front of her. "You need to stop. She doesn't remember you. We sealed it for a reason." The engine's light sharpened, growing almost physical. "You sealed what you feared. She carries no fear. Only the memory of our grief." "I don't understand," Mara whispered. "Why me? Why take me when I was 7? The lattice dimmed. The voice shifted, like mourning. "Because you were the only one who listened." Her chest tightened. What did I listen to? The warning. Silence thickened. Rourke's jaw clenched. "Mara. Step back. They're trying to pull you in." But she wasn't afraid. She took one step toward the engine. The chamber trembled. "The 5 species who approached humanity are running from us, child. They brought warships, because they think we consume worlds." Her breath caught. "Do you?" "No. We warn worlds." A shockwave rippled through the array. Rourke shouted over the rumble, "Mara, we don't know what they really are." The voice cut him off with a resonance that froze the air. "We are not ships. We move through minds. Through memory. We do not travel, we arrive." The light coiled tighter around her. "And we are here again because the others will not heed the truth. The danger they flee is not us. Mara trembled. Then what is the danger? The engine flickered like a dying star. The danger is what followed them here. Before she could ask more, the entire chamber jolted. Sirens blared. Rourke grabbed her arm. They found us. The 5 species are descending. They think the engine is a weapon, and they'll kill us all trying to destroy it. The lattice of light tightened around Mara like a shield. We choose. Choose what? Choose who? Choose her. She opened her mouth. But the engine surged with a blinding flare. And everything went white. When the white light faded, Mara was no longer in the threshold chamber. She stood in a vast, horizonless expanse, black as a dead star, yet threaded with rivers of pale silver light that curved and braided through nothingness like living currents. Her breath hung in the air. Not because it was cold, but because the space itself seemed to inhale with her, as if copying the motion. She wasn't dead. Not exactly. Rourke, she called. Her voice didn't echo. It folded. Then unfolded. A figure stepped out of the darkness, tall, thin, almost human, but with fractal seams glowing along its skin like cracked marble filled with starlight. Mara stepped back. You're a memory, it replied. Your memory. Her pulse drummed in her ears. I don't remember you. The figure bowed its head slightly. Grief rolled off it like gravity. Because you were sealed. Because your species panicked when they learned the truth of what you are. She swallowed. What am I? The silver currents around them flared. The air, if it was air, vibrated. The figure lifted its face. Eyes like miniature galaxies locked onto hers. You are not a vessel we touched. You are a vessel we built. Her stomach twisted. No. I'm human. I grew up in Montana. I had a family. You had caretakers. Kind ones. Loving ones. But not creators. Mara staggered. Images flickered through her mind. Her mother reading beside her bed. Her father tying her shoelaces. Her childhood room, sunlight through curtains. And behind all of it, a memory she had never questioned. A bright light outside her window when she was 7. A gentle voice saying, "We are sorry." The feeling of being carried without being touched. "That was you," she whispered. The figure nodded. "We did not abduct you. We retrieved you. Your body had begun awakening to what it truly was, and that would have killed you among humans." The truth pressed against her chest like a collapsing star. Mara forced the words out. What am I? The figure breathed in. Not oxygen, memory. A hybrid consciousness. A bridge. A mind formed from human neural architecture and our own entropic patterning. You were meant to be the first translator between species that do not use language. The silver current spiraled upward, like a rising storm. You were built to hear what no human can hear. She shook her head violently. No. No, if I'm some kind of construct, why did you return me? Why let me grow up like a normal child? The being's glow dimmed. Because the threshold engine malfunctioned. Because you were not meant to remember us yet. Because your awakening came too early. Mara felt the ground, if it was ground, tilt under her. She wasn't abducted. She was returned so she could grow among them, disguised as one of them. So the memories I lost were never lost. Only folded. Her breath shook. And now you've unfolded them. Because the 5 species are coming to destroy the engine. She swallowed the rising panic. The engine, Rourke, what happened when everything went white? The figure extended a hand. The darkness peeled away like a curtain. Suddenly she could see Earth. Or rather, Earth's orbit, from a vantage point no human had ever stood. 5 alien armadas surrounded the Helios array, each one a masterpiece of terror. But none of them were firing. None were even moving. They were frozen. Held. By something. A shape, vast, shimmering, non-geometric, unfurled around the array like an aurora with intention. "That's you," she whispered. "A fraction of us," the figure said quietly. "A single memory of what we are." A war fleet stood still. Because a memory was holding them. Mara trembled. "What do you want me to do?" The figure's light shifted, warmer now. "What you were always built for." Translate. Carry meaning across species. Restore what they all lost long ago. What did they lose? The figure looked at her, sorrow deepening. The ability to listen. The silver current surged, spiraling around her ankles, her spine, her mind. She felt her neural lattice expand. Not physically, but cognitively. Like new senses unfolding that had always been waiting. The figure stepped close. "Mara, hail, the humans raised you. We shaped you. But you choose who you truly are." The universe inhaled. Waiting. Mara closed her eyes. She felt Earth. The array. Rourke shouting her name. 5 alien fleets trembling in fear. Something older than stars trying to reach her. She opened her eyes. And spoke. Her voice wasn't human. Wasn't alien. It was both. It resonated through memory, through space, through the armadas glazed in stillness. "Stand down. Listen. This is not a war. This is a translation." The armadas jolted. The aurora memory unfurled. The threshold engine pulsed once, like a heart restarting. And the universe, for the first time in hundreds of thousands of years, heard itself. Mara exhaled. Not human. Not alien. Something new. A bridge. A beginning. And the silence protocol, at last, broke.